This is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks. With your hosts, Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. This is the Stick Blade Podcast. All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. It is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings, all things Chicago Blackhawks, and news around the NHL. On tonight's show, we're going to be doing a little bit of a different episode this week. Normally, we have a couple pieces of news to talk about in regards to the Detroit Red Wings and the Chicago Blackhawks, but you know what? The preseason's in a few weeks, and that's when the Wings and the Hawks and the rest of the NHL are really going to be getting a look at, the pieces in their pipeline, the prospects who they drafted the past 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4 years for that matter. It's when all of these players who either went to other teams or signed in other countries even, they're going to be moving out. And now these prospects that they have in the pipeline are going to get a chance to potentially shine with the clubs. And just sort of looking at, this coming season, Detroit and Chicago are both teams that have spots that prospects are going to be looking to fill. Detroit in particular, just because of so many departures that they've had. But we kind of want to talk this episode just about those prospect pipelines, what's there, what we realistically think is going to happen with those players, and then also a couple pieces of news to talk about for the Wings and the Hawks. Just running through the quick news topic this week for the Wings, we're going to be talking about the departures of departures of Luke Glendening and Evgeny Svechnikov, 2 players who will not be with the Wings organization anymore. Also, the buyout of Frans Nielsen and just him being not with the club as a player as of this time. And then on the Hawks side of the podcast for topics, we're going to be talking about the passing of Jimmy Hayes, as well as Mackenzie also signing up with the club. And on the league side of the podcast, just a couple small topics to talk about. One, the NHL's officially said, hey, we're coming out. We're going to do advertisements on the jerseys. It doesn't look like right now it's going to be as bad as like the European leagues are, where they look like freaking NASCAR drivers. So thank God for that.
Yeah.
But it is something that, the league's looking at moving forward. And the other big piece of news that is kind of momentous is that for the first time in almost 15 years now, the first overall pick is not going straight to the NHL. Owen Power's going back to college, and
I wonder why.
Say what you will about the Buffalo Sabres. This isn't even just to slight them. This is actual real news because we haven't seen this in 15 years almost.
I
Who
wonder
was the last
why.
player to do that? Say it. Just say it, Tim. Just say it.
Buffalo. Are you kidding me? I would run. I would quit. I'd become a rugby player. Anything to be not in Buffalo.
Dentist.
I'd be a dentist. Yes.
No, I'd go to the dentist's office.
Just drill all my teeth.
Yeah, with my shaky hands, you don't want me being a dentist.
But you don't have cavities. Just do it.
Well, let's go and just get into the news, everybody. So again, for your host, Jordan Linscott, and for my co-hosts, Tim Stompanato, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, everybody, welcome to the show. And this is going to be a good one because, like I said, we've got a lot of hopeful stuff to talk about this week. The last couple of weeks have been kind of downers, but this is actually some fun stuff to talk about. We're moving to the preseason of the next couple of weeks, so there's going to be some fun stuff to see. I kind of want to start with the Wings news because that's going to make the way and branch into this prospect talk. So for anybody who hasn't really been paying attention to what's been going on with the Red Wings contract with Luke Glendening expired. He signed with, I believe it was the Dallas Stars. And then Evgeny Svechnikov ended up signing a paid tryout with the Winnipeg Jets, I believe it was. So
with their AHL affiliate, the Moose.
Yeah,
whatever.
is it Manitoba?
Yep.
I believe so.
So you've got 2 players right there. Luke Glendening, would Detroit have loved to have had him back? Sure, absolutely. Yeah. The guy was great on the faceoff dot. He was relatively cheap, great locker room presence. But you know what? Luke Glendening decided he wanted to do something else and go play for a club that looks to probably be a playoff player. So I can't blame him.
No, I mean, that makes complete sense for both Glendening and, he is one of those pieces we've talked about 1,000 times. He takes a playoff, a playoff contender, and he puts them into cup contention if that's one of those missing pieces. You get a bottom six guy that he was like one of the top in the league in faceoffs last year, if I'm correct, right?
He was,
Mhm.
I think,
He was the best.
60%.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure he was the best face-off man last season, like 60-some%. Yeah.
Yeah, that if you're able to anchor a guy like that on, if he's able to anchor your fourth line and you can put him out there against top six talent, save your actual top six team.
Yep.
That's fantastic. That's a great move.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
what were
love
the
Glendening.
Stars always criticized on too when throughout, even when they were making the playoffs for multiple years in a row? It's that they were too top heavy. Like
Yep.
they were just top heavy. Like they weren't really threatening throughout their four lines on the lineup. So it was mostly just they didn't really have a third and fourth line. It was a bunch of AHL guys kind of thrown in there, and now they got a certified guy who could go out there and win 65% of his faceoffs, go kill penalties, and really go against top tier talent any night. So this is a perfect signing for the Stars, and they're a real threat again.
I thought you were going to say they were criticized for their neon green jerseys, but okay. Yeah. Bad talent.
No, I
faceoffs.
love the neon relish jerseys. Those are great. That said, like
Me too.
the Stars are acting with Glendening, and the fact, if you take the fact that Glendening's going to be there, the fact that Tyler Sagan's actually going to be back and healthy, it's given Radulov and Rupe Hintz time to heal because they were on and off with injuries all year. Holy cow, like this forward group is actually going to be
They can compete.
again. I hate having to play against them, but it's exciting to see that team finally taking a shape where they could get over that hump.
Like that's the thing. Like Luke Glendening, we say death pieces are what push you to the edge, but the guy is so cheap. That's the other thing.
It's
like
such
this, this isn't one of those things where the player got overpaid or like the term's too long. No, Luke Glendening's deal with the Dallas Stars, it's perfect. The length is perfect. The term's perfect. And his role, it doesn't push any meaningful players down the lineup.
No, it's not blocking a prospect or anything like that. Because realistically, you're going to want an actual prospect that you would want up there playing top nine. Either if they're not ready for top nine, put them in the AHL. Luke Glendening fills a role that is not glamorous, it's not glitzy. It's not where people necessarily dream of being, but he's like, again, Nick. Yeah. I always think of Marcus Kruger.
Yeah. I was just about to say that you guys are Marcus Kruger.
This is exactly the kind of contract that a team gets when they're ready to move like that. It's a great move.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's only a 2-year deal. Wings will probably be competing in 2 years. Glenny might just come back,
How old is Glendening?
He's only 31, 32.
Ageless. He's
32.
Ageless.
I mean, that's not for a bottom six guy that does that's actually not terrible.
I mean, Joe Thorne's still getting contracts.
Jumbo Joe, baby, let's go.
Yarmer Yager somewhere was, for a while.
He's still playing in the
Yeah,
check.
he'll never quit.
No, neither will Batsuk. He's in Russia, just killing people there. Just picking their pockets still.
The other contract that the Wings had move on this past season, Evgeny Svechnikov, again, one of those players, and we've kind of talked about this before on the show, but
lots.
Injuries plagued him at the wrong time. The Wings drafted players that jumped him on the depth chart, and he just couldn't stay healthy long enough to put a solid string of NHL games together.
Yep.
It sucks, but you know what? The Wings have other pieces that are looking like they're going to be long-term players for the club. And this is just one of those unfortunate things where the timing sucked for everything involved. But, good for him. He's going to get a chance with the Winnipeg Jets organization.
Yep.
So,
yeah, we've talked about him a lot, and we all love the kid. It's just like you said, wrong time. Like injuries happen at the wrong time, people jumping him at the wrong time. And what we said every time was, I hope we just trade him at the deadline. Give him a breath of fresh air. And this is exactly what it is. It's giving him a chance to kind of start over, breath of fresh air. He has a chance to make the Winnipeg Jets when he's healthy. Like that's what I think I read on Twitter, is that he's going to the Manitoba Moose with their contract. And when he's healthy, he has a chance to be on the Jets.
I mean, Winnipeg has a nasty forward group too.
Yeah.
Like there's so many skilled players up and down their lineup, but it's I don't know. I could see it working out there. I mean, he's a skilled player and he's got to play with skilled people. Like we've always talked about, you can't throw him on the third or fourth, like a third line checking role or a fourth line role for the Red Wings. you got a top 9 there that's just very skilled in Winnipeg, and along with a chance to compete, I think he's going to be revitalized in his career. He's kind of felt like he kind of just thrown to the wayside with the Red Wings just because of injuries. Like, it's not his fault; it just happened. So
It's nobody's fault.
No, yeah.
I like
It
the
just sucks
fit
on both sides.
because they got a young, great forward group out in Winnipeg, and they got some good prospects coming along. So maybe he could be like kind of what guides them in the AHL when they're there, and then work his way up and play with that nasty forward group in Winnipeg.
I mean, that's a guy who's been through adversity. So he's someone that it's not bad to have some of the young guys around, like, I don't know, learning from someone that's like, listen, I've been through, oh, you're upset that you're like down in the HL. Trust me. Let's hold off and see what we can do. He's got the size, he's got the skill. I would be surprised if he didn't at least get a little bit of time up with the big club. The Central's gonna be tough. It always is, I feel, but like Central's really rounding out like the deficiencies in these teams that I could always count on. They're addressing them, and I don't feel great about that.
Yeah, even the laughing stock of the Minnesota Wild are now addressing their needs too.
Well, unless Kirill Kaprizov goes back to Russia.
Yeah, but I mean, still, like, the Central is deep.
Yeah,
and it's scary. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to the Hawks analysis.
The last transaction that the Detroit Red Wings had this week that I can think of is they bought out Frans Nielsen. Frans Nielsen, this was going to be his last year with the club per his contract. They buy him out this year. They free up a little bit of cap space. This wasn't a cap space move, though. This was we're trying to make a slot on this club for a player that we think could be here in 3 to 5 years. And a couple weeks ago, Steve Yzerman said Joe Veleno was not penciled into the roster. I feel like them buying out Nielsen has him penciled in at this point. Like, again, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but
yeah,
I feel like they're going to just give him the 3C role that Frans Nielsen had.
Yeah, I think Nielsen has had his time, and he's not part of the plan anymore. Like, the plan's moved on, and we bought him out for that reason alone. Like, this is the Yzer plan. This is where the plan is. You're not part of the plan. Sorry.
The other thing is, like, when Detroit brought Frans Nielsen on, he was basically set to be a centerman holdover while Pavel Datsyuk was gone, and we were looking for another high-end center. The Detroit Red Wings just didn't find one, but you know what? He's sufficient. I didn't even really think he was that good, to be honest, but you know what? He sufficed in Datsuk's absence.
Yep.
But he's not a long-term piece here. So
no, he was there. He was there to fill a spot.
Was he the last? Oh, sorry.
And he was a leader ish type, the veteran player. So that's why he had the A. Same with Glendening. Glendening was a leader, which is why he had the A.
Was he the last like big signing that Holland had?
he was the last big name signing that Ken Holland had.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
I mean, obviously,
Holland era is officially over.
disappointing contract for sure. That 6 year, $31.5 million really didn't make sense when it was signed. And, now it's like, oh yeah, this run really hurt. Cause I think you got to pay him $4.75 million next season because of the buyout. This season, you guys save a lot of money, so financially it really didn't make sense just because you had the money. But this is kind of like kissing the Holland era goodbye. This is like, all right, let's wash away all this stink and let's start fresh now, guys.
I was gonna say I like the buyout. I think it's a smart move. You've got a lot of guys that were up and down last year. One of my favorite players that you guys have had, Giovanni Smith. I think that this cements a role for him this year. I am curious about that 3C spot, whether it's going to be Veleno, whether it's going to be Rasmussen. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But with the amount of people that you've got that are earning spots and, a lot of different combinations, getting rid of a guy like Nielsen that Yzerman said he's not in the plan. We need to move on. It wasn't a cost thing. This was purely his implementing his plan and saying this move is worth it to get somebody in. So I am excited to see what he does with that.
mean, I just gotta say, you guys have been saying his name wrong. It's actually now Joe Swole Leno, because that man is looking real jacked lately.
Which is what he need. Like, I
He
know we're
needed
having a
energy.
joke, we're having a laugh, but like, it's exactly what he needed to get a little muscle mass, well, or a lot of muscle mass on there,
lot.
making him, nobody's pushing him off the puck. Like,
No,
that's exactly what he needed if
if
he's going to make it in the show.
if he's not gonna win the faceoff with his charming good looks, he's now gonna win it by just out muscling people.
Combination of both now.
He's going to Patrick Sharp him. Yeah, for sure.
Damn.
But I mean, Jordan, you were asking. I mean, that's both your assistants gone or alternates gone now.
Yep.
Who do you guys see filling in now?
I feel
So-
like Tyler Bertuzzi's got to be a lock for at least one, right?
It's got to be Bert. Yeah, Bert is, a heart. People like to throw on like the heart of the team, like they're the heart and soul of this team. Like, there's a couple people that I would say that fit that category for the Wings. He represents Detroit. He's got that grit. He's got the, skill. He's a core component of this team, which is why I'm glad we re-signed him and didn't try to trade him away. But yeah, I think he gets one of the A's. And then Jordan's favorite guy, Philip Hronek. I think, you got to have a defenseman usually that wears that A. And Hronek is a key component of our defense and our team. He's the quarterback of our defense and power play. So I think he definitely would get that other A, in my opinion.
Joe, how about you?
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be Bertuzzi, Hronek. When I look at Detroit's forward pool, Bertuzzi is the obvious choice, right? The guy who has been here throughout the down years and has stuck around and still continues to produce night in, night out. Great player. And on the blue line, Philip Hronek I think he's exceeded everybody's expectations. I mean, what was he logging last season? Like 23, 24 minutes a night?
He was averaging high numbers in minutes.
And he's a very young player. He's only like 22 or 20.
Yep.
I think he's 22 years old. Logging 23, 24 plus minutes a night. Like, how do you look at that kid and say he's not leading the defense group? Because he actually is. He's doing it offensively and just time wise.
Yep.
Go ahead, Nick.
The only reason why I don't think, all right, so Bertuzzi is the only one I could really kind of disagree on, because I think we're still not sure if he's really a long-term piece. I know he got that RFA contract recently. I thought Mark Stahl might be a guy that probably gets it just like as like a placeholder for their upcoming guys. Like, give someone the alternate for 1 year that is kind of just going to hold on to who's a role player and who's going to be a leader for this locker room. And then, once our new wave comes in, and we'll see who is a leader out of that group, and kind of, we'll be an alternate for many years to come in the wing wheel.
I actually was going to bring up Mark Stahl a little bit. I could see it. I think he might be one of those players where you don't need to give him an A just because he automatically brings that. So it's the same like Hossa never had an A, and yet you'd never, he was a leader on that team.
You don't listen to Marian Hossa.
I think that Mark Stahl, I'm glad he's still there because he is the perfect sort of veteran anchor to keep guiding this team in the right direction with good habits and all that. Bertuzzi makes sense, but I think if they do Bertuzzi, then they have to do like a Philip Hronek, because it sounds strange when you think about Larkin and Bertuzzi, but they're kind of the old guard now. Like, they are the veteran presence, which I still see Larkin as like the young gun. Yep. But now you need somebody, in my mind, with the way this team is, having some of those guys who have been through the dark years, who have climbed their way up like Larkin and Bertuzzi, and then get that fresh hope of that new era that is Hronek. And I think Hronek's going to be a really good bridge between the young guys coming up and the guys like Larkin and Bertuzzi that maintain that like overall presence. I think that's going to be a really nice leadership balance.
Yeah, Jordan Yzerman was a young captain. Do you remember who some of his like early assistant leaders were?
Shoot, man, you're dating me now.
Oh man, I'm old too, but I can't remember.
I can't remember. Did they get Fedorov the A when he came in? Because he was playing over in Russia. He was playing on the Red Army Club, and he was the captain over on the Red Army Club, right? Over in Russia.
I believe so. I'm trying to see if we can find like
I'm
history
pretty
of.
sure Fedorov was one of them. I don't think they gave Nick Lidstrom the A immediately. I remember he didn't have it for a while. I want to say Fedorov was one of the other A's though.
Let's see, team captains.
I just see like, I don't know. I see Yzerman kind of wanting
Here we go. Okay, I'm scrolling back.
Sider to be that future alternate for the long term.
Wow. So Yzerman, when he was made captain, 86, 87, Lee Norwood, John Ogrednik, Gerard Gallant,
Ah, there's a name we know.
Yeah, all right.
Mike O'Connell, and Tim Higgins. That was a lot of A's. Okay, so
Wow.
then the next year it was Gallant and O'Connell, Gallant, O'Connell. So yeah, he had them 90, 91. He had Probert,
Yeah.
Nombo, and
Yeah,
Gallant.
right.
So Gallant served with him for many years. Holy
Wow.
smokes. Gallant was his assistant from 86, 87 up until his last year was 92, 93 with him.
Dang,
So he
okay.
had him for what, 6 years?
Yeah.
When did we get Fedorov? Was that 90?
That wasn't the same year where he drafted Lidstrom, was it?
Trying to remember.
Because Lidstrom, what was it? Lidstrom, he went in.
Sergei
What
Fedorov.
was it, 92? But either way, I think that Detroit probably is looking to have Moritz Seider be an A long-term for the club. I think
In the future.
Yeah, I think in the future that is a long-term thing that Yzerman will probably want to push for.
But give him a couple years.
But you got to give him time, though. That's the thing. He hasn't played the NHL level yet, so
We already know he's going to kill people.
I'm hoping.
But it'll be good to bring him in without. I mean, there's always pressure, but it'll be good to bring him in without. The last thing you need to do is like slap an A on the kid or something like that. Which,
Oh, of course.
Nick, to your point, the Mark Stahl thing makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Just kind of fill it.
I
yeah.
think he's going to be put with one of the guys, with a Mark Stahl or with a Letty. So
Oh yeah,
I don't
Nick
think-
Leddy.
Yeah, I mean, Letty would be a good, but would
Letty
they
over
bring in
Stahl, though?
somebody? I don't know. I don't see Yzerman bringing somebody in and putting him as an alternate. I feel like, and again, you
it's a
make
new,
Burdett
it's a
and then
new
you trade him.
roster. Yeah, I mean it's a new roster though too.
That's true.
Yzerman just puts it on himself.
puts it
He
on
takes
himself.
the C from Larkin. I'm back.
Yeah, like that's the crazy thing about this roster, though, is when you look at the roster as it is right now, what you project out versus what Steve Yzerman had when he walked in. There's only three players left over from the Ken Holland era. It's Dylan Larkin, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Danny DeKeyser. Those are the only three players who were actually
so
playing on the
crazy.
roster when Yzerman took the club over. Everybody else has either been a trade piece, a free agency piece, or a prospect that developed after Ken Holland left. That's nuts to me.
You love to see it. Oh, man.
That's what we call turnover.
Yeah.
And I mean, out of those three, you got Larkin and Bertuzzi. I don't hate Danny DeKeyser, but Danny DeKeyser,
Don't watch
think-
what you say.
I don't think he's going to be a key piece in the future. Is all.
Oh,
Danny
no, no.
DeKeyser would be good if he was like $2 million less.
I mean, he did go to Western Michigan.
There it is. There it is.
There it is.
And nobody's perfect.
Are we chirping here?
But you know what? We're on the topic of roster turnover. Both clubs are going to have had a lot of roster
Massive.
turnover recently. The preseason's coming up. You're going to see the prospects get their time at, the preseason. These preseason rosters are not going to be the full NHL club. It's going to be a lot of players who these clubs are saying, okay, we have you. We're going to put you against other prospects that the other teams around the NHL have. And we're going to see how you compete against that level of player to gauge where you're at with your development, with your talent, where we think you could be as a future player for the club. That being said, I want to touch on what we all deem the key prospects, if we could put it, for the club. Do both organizations have tons of players in the pipeline? in theory, yes, if you look at every single draft pick as a player in the pipeline. But unfortunately, not all draft picks are created equal. Some have higher stock than others. And I kind of want to talk about the ones that, if we're looking at this club or both of these clubs in this manner, in a 3 to 4 year window, could realistically be pieces. If we're looking at them right now, where do they slot in? What are the expectations for them this upcoming season? Not even just preseason, going into the full regular season. And do we think that the realistic expectations are going to get met? Or if we think, well, maybe the kids might buckle under the pressure a little bit. I mean, we kind of talked about the Red Wings, so I kind of want to just stay on topic with them right now, because I feel like if any team is going to have a ton of prospects emerge from their system, the Red Wings might be one of the teams around the NHL that has a lot of them come forward this season as full timers.
Yep.
I mean, David, we'll just start off with your boy, Joe Swoleno. Eiserman said he's not penciled in, but Frans Nielsen's gone. Filppula's gone. After Dylan Larkin, what do you have? You've got like Michael Rasmussen should be a lock for center, just given last season. But after that, it's question marks, and they still don't have a definitive third or fourth line centerman.
Damn Gagne.
Yeah, I guess it's true they do have Gagne, but I feel like he's more of a fourth line
joke.
center.
Unless it's the Blackhawks, he's playing against the Hawks.
Exactly.
Then he's Nathan
I
McKinnon.
think, as of right now, I think Larkin is our 1C, of course.
Gotta be.
I think for the 2C and 3C, it's going to be who's playing better between Rasmussen and Veleno. I think Veleno, with the departures of Filppula and the departures of Nielsen, and Veleno listening to what's been said, that, you know, he had to put on at least 15 to 20 pounds of muscle. He's bulking up. He's doing what they want him to do. We already know he has talent. We've seen highlight video after highlight video. He's transitioned not badly for the Red Wings when he's played. Like, he didn't stand out, but that's a good thing. Like, standing out can be good and bad. He contributes. He gets the passes off, but him adding this muscle, he's gonna be outworking people at the face-off center, hopefully. So I think for that 2C, 3C spots, it's gonna be who's doing better between him and Rasmussen, because I can't think of anyone else we've brought in or we're going to be bringing in.
Pius Suter, I think.
Pius Suter.
Yeah. Suter's. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think Suter would be kind of your locking in at your 2, but Rasmussen is that type of guy that can play that fourth line role. He gives you that depth. He gives you that scoring touch on the fourth line, big body, get physical. But yeah, I like Veleno too. I mean, I could also see them doing what they do with a lot of teams do with young centers, and kind of work them into a wing, coming in as a wing, and then kind of working them to center, like during practice, working on face-offs, working on positioning. But I think that third line role is fitting for him though.
Wasn't Glendening working with him on face-offs during practices? Like, didn't we see that?
That'd be great.
That was Rasmussen that he was working on with the face-offs.
Okay.
But I mean, that's indicative of fourth line centerman, is you take a lot of the hard draws.
Yeah. You want him to see him working with those kind of guys too, because.
Yep.
But so are you out on Fabry as center?
I think Fabry's better at wing.
Okay.
I think he's better as a wing.
I know he filled that role last year as your 2C. So
he doesn't need to now with Suter.
I definitely think that this year starts with Suter slotting in as your 2C and letting the other guys play out for that 3C role, and see maybe not even on who's playing better, but who are you playing? Maybe you want Rasmussen up on that third line role if you're playing. Like, I know it's outdated because they're not that good anymore, but like, I always imagine like the Ducks, like, oh, we're playing Anaheim, we better get some more physical guys on that third, change things up a little bit.
If I'm being honest, with our 2 lines, like our top 2 lines of forwards, I think it's Larkin, Bertuzzi, Fabry. I think Fabry slots into one of those wings.
Really? Okay.
And then you go with the Czech line with Suter, Vrana, and Zadina, in my opinion. That's what I would play. I
mean, that's a wicked top 6. I mean, realistically, and then if you can have a third line, maybe they put, I mean, frankly, if you don't want to not waste, but if you don't want to put one of them on the fourth line, maybe you put Rasmussen and Veleno on the third line. And like, whichever one's taking faceoffs better, or whoever's like in a certain pocket, like, okay, let's switch them in. I feel like those two play styles could complement each other very, very well on a line.
Oh, for sure. And then you put. We're forgetting a prospect though, Raymond. Does he
Raymond
fit into this team, or does he go
on a
back to
third line
Sweden?
on a third line with Rasmussen and Veleno, that could be a position for him to succeed.
That is true.
So as much as I give Jeff Blashill crap for the blender, as weird as it's going to sound, I actually
it.
think this season is the season for the blender when it comes to center. I know.
Oh, I love it.
I actually think that this season is a good season to implement the blender. And let me explain why. Michael Rasmussen and Joe Veleno are very different centers. Michael Rasmussen is a big body who loves to smack people into the boards, who likes to be physical. Joe Veleno is a setup man through and through. He is a playmaker's playmaker. You implement Michael Rasmussen as a centerman when you're playing against a lot of like smaller, quick teams, just to constantly muscle players off the puck and to grind players down. When you are playing against other fast teams is when you deploy a guy like Joe Veleno who can keep up with play and who doesn't necessarily have to worry about smacking people all the time because of the fact that he keeps up with them pace-wise. If Blashill decides to swap Rasmussen and Veleno on the 3 and the 4C this season, I'm perfectly fine with it because I hope that he's going to be doing it out of a matchup system, not I need to get something clicking type scenario.
I don't think you looked at that Instagram post because Joe Veleno is a big body now.
But he's not Michael Rasmussen big. Like Michael Rasmussen was already big.
He's no longer a liability getting knocked into the boards big, which is, again, exactly what he needed to do was get on that muscle. That said, I think your fourth line, that opens up a phenomenal role, a phenomenal consistent role for Evgeny Smith.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the Nielsen buyout, provides that consistent slot for Smith on the fourth line. And that's a guy that if you're taking a face off in like a specific zone where we need that physical push, he can slot up. But putting him on that fourth line where he can just grind out, I'm hyped to see him in a consistent role this year.
Oh yeah.
And like that's the thing. If they put him on the fourth line with like Michael Rasmussen, for example, you've got two big players right there who can constantly muscle guys on the board and win board battles. To be able to have two guys like that on your fourth line, and Evgeny Smith, he's not a stone-handed guy. Like,
no,
is he like a super skilled guy? No. But he's not stone hands. He can put the puck in the back of the net. I mean, we saw it last season. He had a couple of pretty decent goals. It's just you don't expect them all the time, but you can expect a couple from him every season.
He kind of reminds me of Dan Cleary. Like Danny Cleary had the grit, but Danny Cleary didn't had good hands too. Like he could put him in the net when you needed him to.
Oh yeah, Smith's not a plug. Like he's physical, he's gritty, but he's not the kind of person that, oh God, I got the puck. What do I do? Like he's got good sense. He's got decent enough hands. That's why putting him on that fourth line with a couple of guys maybe that could clean up, like he's a cleanup guy, but somebody that can do maybe a little bit more with the puck. That's where Rasmussen, again, you have a good, strong fourth line that's not inept with the puck. That's a win.
I mean, a lot of Wings fans will be familiar with Darren Helm, right? Take Darren Helm's style of play, but instead of making him fast, trade the speed for physicality. And I think that's what you kind of have in Evgeny Smith, a guy who will not be scoring you goals consistently, will not be scoring them a lot, but a guy who will chip in occasionally and will just be putting the team in a position where you're not worrying about getting put in bad positions.
Like Darren Helm, do you think he could, like, I don't know, kill off an entire penalty kill against the Blackhawks by himself?
I mean, he could just put like the puck by like his legs and just keep it in the boards for 2 minutes because you're not going to muscle that kid off.
Okay.
And we got rid of Zadorov, so yeah, I guess we can't. Nick, do we have anybody big and strong anymore? I mean, Stillman.
Yeah, I mean, Hagel's not big. He's strong, but he's not big.
He's like a feral animal.
Yeah. Seth Jones, he's big and strong.
Yeah. All right.
But I kind of want to touch on the wings prospects still a little more. I mean, what about Jonathan Berggren too? I mean, he's got to be coming up kind of soon as well.
Yeah. He's such an interesting piece for the Wings because you look at his junior stats, he was an assist machine. Like, how many what was it? He had like 30 some assists or whatever it was last season, wasn't it?
Check real quick when you guys keep talking.
But I remember he was a point per game just by his assists, which was nuts. Like, it just, I don't know where he slots in though. Like, I feel like he's going to have a spot somewhere, but I feel like if he's going to be anywhere, it's going to be the extra piece.
Because he's another center too.
Yeah. I feel like he plugs in if we have an injury, and I don't think he's, is he, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but he hasn't played over in Grand Rapids, correct?
Which player? I didn't hear you when you were talking.
Jonathan Berggren?
He has not.
No, he's been in Sweden. I think.
Yeah,
he?
He's still in the SHL. I was just because he came to mind because he's ranked higher than Joe Veleno now in your prospect system.
And like, again, that's weird because Joe Veleno has been playing with the Grand Rapids Griffins for last season. He played with Detroit for a little bit.
And Berggren hasn't even touched Detroit or the AHL, so that's pretty crazy. He's ranked higher than Veleno, who has.
But he's playing against. He's also been playing against men though.
Right.
Several seasons. I mean, the way I look at it, we got an off right there. We gotta just the way I look at it, I mean, to compare it to another sport, you guys this is gonna be like your maybe not like with as great of an ending as the 2015 Cubs, but like the arrival of all these top prospects for you guys is they're kind of just gonna come in waves this year, and that's exciting because you got Berggren, you got Veleno, maybe you got Raymond, Sider. I mean, maybe not all of them start with the Red Wings at the start of the season, but they're gonna be coming in throughout the season. It's gonna be like, oh, we got another young stud coming and joining the lineup. So this is a big year for you guys.
Hey, mark it down here. Nickel Page just said the Red Wings are going to win the Stanley Cup next year after going down 3-1.
No, 2015 when we lost in
no, not this year, next year.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Maybe.
It is interesting that I always mispronounce his name, Berggren.
Mm-hmm.
Berggren.
I feel like he's the prospect that I always forget out of your pool, and I feel like that's actually kind of consistent, like around the board when we're talking about Wings prospects. Could he be more useful as a trade chip, flipping for a need? I feel like when it comes to, you've got people that fill his role, and like you said, maybe he's 13th forward, maybe he's somebody that comes in with injuries or something like that. I don't know. I don't see from the information the limited, information I know on the Wings, I don't really see a spot for him opening up.
Unless he just wows them at camp.
And that's entirely possible. I guess just with Suter coming in and with Raymond on the horizon, Vrana panning, like, I don't know. I feel like there isn't a spot for him that is opening up anytime soon. I don't know. What do you think?
I think in preseason, Jeff Black, okay, so we know obviously it's not full NHL competition in preseason. Right. Everybody here knows that. But I think Jeff Blashill needs to seriously put Joe Veleno and Berggren both in the same position of basically playing third line center and playing them both as, playmaking centermen and just kind of seeing which one flourishes more. I feel like that's the only way Detroit's really going to settle on who's making the show this year in that capacity.
Yep.
I don't think Berggren would be served on the fourth line as a centerman because I don't think it fits his play style based on who he'd get paired with. I mean, I wouldn't put Giovanni Smith with Jonathan Berggren. Their play styles don't match. The play styles that they're playing are both completely different in terms of what they're trying to do. Giovanni Smith's trying to play physical, shut guys down, and be tough on the puck. Berggren's trying to set up a sniper who can get in the slot and just help finish the chances he generates. Veleno's kind of the same player. He's a guy who's a setup man. And maybe that's what they do with preseason. They just basically swap those two out in the centerman role and just see who does better.
That said, I feel like I myself have forgotten one potential option. Pius Suter can play center, left wing, right wing, and he can play anywhere in that top 9, and he has. There, I imagine he'll originally slot in as the 2C, but there is a chance with that Rasmussen or Veleno or any of them could theoretically take that 2C spot and allow Suter on the wing on any of those
Also,
lines.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have a lot more experience watching him in Chicago than we have in Detroit.
He was brought over as a wing. He was forced into the center position purely because Taze was out and Doc was out. And so
someone had to.
Yeah, well, exactly. And we didn't know what we had in Kurashev yet. Like, we weren't ready for that. Like, it was Strome. We tried it and it just didn't work on that first line for a little bit. And Suter stepped into a remarkable center role, given that he was picked up really as a wing. It's a distinct possibility that somebody takes that 2C role once they're ready. Maybe even we see it in preseason, and that slots Suter over to the wing.
Yeah, I think, he's a great player in general all around.
Yeah.
I just hope like the expectations aren't sky high on him just because he did get a pretty lofty, sizable contract. So,
yeah,
he's kind of one of those guys that he really doesn't do a thing wrong. That's what you're getting out of him. He's not like a flashy stud, but he's going to be a productive player wherever you put him in the lineup.
He's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
You can put him all over the board and he's got good enough hands, good enough speed, good enough skill. Like, he's going to thrive in any of those positions. So I don't know that. Hey, you got a good player, which is great.
Like a poor man's Michael Frolik.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I can see that.
We've talked about a lot of Detroit's forwards this season for prospects. In my eyes, there's only really one defensive piece that Detroit has in the pipeline that we're looking at playing it. Now, granted, it's a great one, and it looks to be just
say his name. I know it's like,
go ahead.
It's like an orgasm for you guys right now.
Moritz Seider. Oh my God.
Seider, baby.
I love everything I've seen of this kid.
Now
Swedish.
You boys go change your pants. We'll continue the show.
I have loved everything we've seen of this kid in the Swedish Elite League. Like, for everyone who gave Steve Yzerman shit for drafting him at 6th overall, I hope to God you get to eat crow because this kid looks like a stud.
He used an opposing player to hit another opposing player. Like, yes.
Yeah, he's playing croquet rules. Yes. It's wild.
Like, the dude is so defensively aware. Like, he's offensively too, but we got him to be our shutdown defenseman. And that looks like what he is going to do. When he's ready, he's going to be put with, Hronek, and we're going to have such a good 1-2 punch with the offensive quarterback and the defensive defenseman to cover for him. Like, oh man, I can't wait.
I mean, if I'm looking at the Wings prospects for this season, he's obviously the number one defensive prospect we have.
Yeah, Edvinson's not touching his team this year.
End of the season?
I think he's staying in Frölunda.
I see him as a piece coming at the end, like the Cal McCarr treatment. Obviously probably not playoff, not in the playoffs, but like in that like 7-game or 8-game threshold that you kind of get to toy with.
Yeah, you get the 8 games before the year of the ELC slides.
Yeah, I think that he'll get in the 8-game threshold at the end of the season.
I mean,
we'll see.
For Seider, though, I feel like middle pair is going to be where they're going to staple him at. I don't think he's ready for top line competition. And it's not because I don't think he can handle it. I think it's you don't take rookie players because Moritz Seider is going to be a rookie this year at the NHL level, but you don't take rookies and throw them on the top pair or the top line usually. And I don't think that's going to be what serves Moritz Seider best. He's a player who has been very good at adjusting to every single league that he has been thrown into, but It looks like they're going to put him with Nick Leddy probably on the middle
I like
pair.
that.
And if Nick Leddy can help him hone his offensive part of playing as a defenseman, you've got you've got a Swiss Army knife defenseman who exceeds at everything. Those don't come along often, and that's a huge piece for Detroit.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with him in the middle pair for the whole year. I don't want to see him top pair all season unless he literally just
Takes it.
tears it open.
I love him with Leddy.
Yeah, I think Letty makes sense. And then eventually, once he kind of gets more time under his belt, moving him up, seeing when he goes against like the top tier of every team. But yeah, I do love that pairing of starting him off with Letty, just because Letty is that offensive defenseman who is still responsible in his own zone.
Yeah.
So he could learn a lot from a guy like Nick Letty, who's made one hell of a career, and he's still got a lot of time too.
And the other big wings prospect that we have, I don't project him to make the club this year, but Edvinsson was the other big name defenseman who they have coming up. I think he stays over in Sweden and keeps playing. I want to see him being put in that top pair position. I want to see him taking those strides forward like Moritz Seider was taking this year in the Swedish league. Do I expect him to be Moritz Seider? No, because, well, it's not often that a player just makes that jump to being as dominant as Moritz Seider was this year, but I'd love to see it. I want to just see him taking on a bigger role, taking on more minutes, putting on more size, and just becoming smarter, faster. I think really if he does that this offseason and this coming season, I think that's a win. That's what the Wings need. They need another high-end blue liner. And you have a 1-2 punch in Hronek and Seider in probably 2 years. If Edvinsson's that number 3 guy, Detroit's pretty much set.
Just watch Edvinsson use 2 players to hit another player.
Well, that's just gratuitous at that point, frankly.
I mean, he's another one of those guys. He's a big left-handed shot.
Big.
Yeah, he's big. I mean,
6'5", 6'6".
Detroit's decor is going to be stapled with Seider and Edvinsson in the next couple of years, and that's wow, that's scary.
Yeah, that's gonna be honestly, if everything pans out, you've got a really nice decor solidifying right now. That's some franchise building pieces.
Yep.
But yeah, again, I think he gets that 8-game threshold this year at the end of the season. I think I don't see the risk to it, because if this Frölunda season ends early, I mean, you might as well see what he could do.
I think that's all of the Wings prospects that we're going to really talk about. We could talk about our goaltending prospects, but we've kind of already done that. We did that last episode. Sebastian Coach, we already know he's going back to play with the Edmonton Oil Kings, barring some crazy lights out performance in preseason and camp. I don't really know what else to say there. We want to continue to play up to par with what he's been playing recently and just get to the point where he can get waived to play to Grand Rapids. Yep. No one expects anything big out of him. You just want to continue to see steps forward in terms of just his athleticism and being able to read situations.
Yeah.
And he's really, in my opinion, the only Wings goalie of the future to be talking about that's not going to be with the roster this season, because Nedeljkovic is already going to be here next season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think him and Nedeljkovic are going to be our 2 cornerstones in the net in the future.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's going to take probably 3 years or more before we finally see Kosa manifest. And in the meantime, you just want to make sure that he's growing, make sure he's taking steps forward and that he's getting better. In the meantime, you're just kind of waiting.
Living on hype.
And Ned is going to hold down the net. Like, it's not
Ned
like you're
Grice,
waiting
baby.
with, it's not like you're waiting with, semi-decent goaltenders. That's a great person to be manning the net to allow Kosa to develop. They're not going to rush him because they don't need to.
Nope.
Give him this year with the Oil Kings, and then give him 2 years in the AHL, and then give him a year as a backup. To me, that's perfect.
Yep.
We've been talking about the Wings pretty much all episodes so far. How about we transfer over to the Hawks, because you guys have a couple prospects coming up.
Yeah, but now I could actually make sense now. I know what I'm going to be talking about. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm excited. We have a glut of every position now. We've got a glut of forwards. We've got a glut of defensemen. We've got too many goalies. Too many cooks. That said, it's exciting to start to. I feel like our top six is pretty defined. It's the bottom six forwards that are really going to be a big question mark for me this year.
Yeah, I mean, from a prospect standpoint, really, it's a whole different season compared to last year.
Yeah,
Like we were like, all right, we're gonna rely on these young guys, see what we have, and now it's like, well, we have a ton of veterans now. Like we brought in Tyler Johnson, Jujar, Correa, and then Ryan Carpenter, and all those 6 forwards we began to talk about. Really, the only forward I could see kind of making an impact this year, and it's not even going to be right away, is Lucas Reichel.
Yeah, I'm curious about where Reichel slots in. I think he's going to get every chance to make the team. I don't think that the worst thing in the world for him would be to be in the AHL.
No,
to be entirely honest, especially I think that I would like to see, and I know it's probably not realistic, I would like to see Kurashev continue to be with the team this year. I know we've got now he can play wing, and we still don't know what Strom's future. I know he's signed, but we don't really know. That's my question: is where does a Kurashev fit in? We've got Hagel locked up. He's best on a bottom six, slot. But you're right. We've got all these forwards and our veteran forwards, and Taze is back. I guess it's easier to sort of map out like top six, Kubalik, Taze, Kane, DeBrincat,
Doc.
Yeah.
That left wing position on Taze's line is going to be open for
that's the fair game. I could see Kurashev potentially try and get a spot there. I could see Gaudette take a swing at that. Realistically, I could even see Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, I mean Tyler Johnson. I mean, it depends what they want to do with him. I think I see Hagel also up there because Taze also had Taze had that Brandon Saad by his side or that Marian Hossa by his side when he was like leading that first line. He has those hard workers that are going to fight for the puck whenever they can.
And Hagel has proven that he plays very, very well with Kubalik.
Yeah. Yes.
I would love to see Hagel on the top line. I'm just wondering if there's anyone that maybe fits there that won't fit in the bottom six.
Yeah. It's just tough. Yeah. I mean, it's like drawing out this lineup and trying to make it make sense. It's tough because I mean, like you guys are saying, we got too many cooks in the kitchen. We got a ton of forwards that are.
I think Entwistle and Hardman. I think Hardman's our 13th forward.
Yeah.
I think Entwistle is obviously in Rockford this year. We let go Hinostroza, which like I love Vinny.
Yeah, that's
but like I get it. It from a business perspective, I get it. Gaudette, I'm thrilled that he's got his stomach issue like finally resolved and he's able to put on weight. So I think that this could be a very big year for him. And we've got Nylander.
Yeah.
Nylander is probably going to get a spot on that top line to give it a shot at the start.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to like the prospect standpoint, we like Lucas Reichel's really, I mean, maybe eventually Evan Barrett. I don't know. Evan Barrett.
I'm still big on Barrett
yeah.
As like a third line, like bottom six guy, but
it's just
we have a lot of that.
A lot of our forward prospects are now graduated from that prospect list just because of the service time and the amount of time they spent with the Hawks, like Doc, like Kurashev. Kurashev's no longer a prospect. Suter, if he was still with the team, no longer a prospect. So a lot of those guys. And then, I mean, from the defensive standpoint, I mean, Mitchell's probably going to start the year in Rockford.
I think Mitchell and Beaudin both start in Rockford.
Kalynuk maybe starts the year in Rockford. I mean, I see him wanting to get playing time with him rather than starting him as the 7th. Caleb Jones,
because Seth Jones and Dahan. Wait, yeah, Seth Jones and Dahan, Murphy and McCabe, and then Caleb Jones and I would say Caleb Jones and Kalynuk on the offhand with Stillman as the 7th defenseman.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, maybe Kalynuk is going to be up
I think he makes the most sense. I think he's the most, and correct me if you feel it's different. I think he's the farthest along.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Whereas I think Mitchell and Beaudin could both serve another year of fully invested top line AHL. Let them tear it up down there. Let them learn. Let them make mistakes. Let them do all situations. I think Kalynuk as a third pairing offensive defenseman, maybe a power play 2 quarterback, maybe a power play 1 quarterback.
Yeah,
Frankly, he connected
someone needs
with
to fill
Kane.
Duncan Keith's role now.
Well, and like they were saying last year, like he had a good chemistry with Kane.
Yeah, Scott
And
Powers is on the show saying that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Scott Powers is talking about like we haven't seen this kind of chemistry from a D-man to Kane since. I mean, as much as we kind of shit on him, Eric Gustafson, but that was magic for a season.
Yeah.
So
that's what I see the defense shaking out at to start the year.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I didn't really factor that. I kind of sort of pencil in Stillman, but I don't think I should do that quite yet. It's just I
like Stillman.
Yeah, I do too. But he's just you can't throw him into every night situations yet.
I think it's going to be Stillman and Caleb Jones switching out.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I know we were talking about all these like big name prospects the Wings got, but like the Hawks really don't have. I mean, I was mentioning it last week before we started the show. None ranked inside the top 50, where the Wings have quite a few. So it's really just a bunch of young guys rather than like actual prospects.
Yeah.
I'm still high on Mitchell. I still think that Mitchell, given the appropriate time to develop, could be that guy. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like Nick, you made a good point. A lot of our like really exciting prospects, they're not prospects anymore.
Yeah.
And the guys that we do have that I think could be difference makers, I'm a big Alex Vlasic fan. Wyatt Kaiser.
Yep.
That's another person that I think could develop. They're not top 50 prospects right now, but I think that they certainly could develop that way. But they're still 2 years away in my mind. Vlasic might go pro after this year. It's his junior. He's starting his junior year at Boston. And he's going to be like a leadership position, like top pairing D-man. And even like Cameso, I still think that realistically, I like a lot of what he brings to the table. I think as a goalie, he's taking, they take longer to develop. I get that they're not top 50 prospects right now, but I wouldn't lose hope that in a year or two, prospects that we have will sneak into that.
Like, I think the hard thing for the Chicago Blackhawks is, so last season you guys had like this weird, I almost want to call it like a gap year. So you guys had this weird year of where you were trying all these different players in all these different positions and just sort of letting the chips fall where they may. Yeah. And then management goes out this season and they make a bunch of moves which are not that direction. Like Seth Jones is not a move in that direction. Tyler Johnson's not a move in that direction. Letting Pia Suter walk is not a move in that direction.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Or like getting Marc-Andre Fleury, like none of those moves are moves in that direction. But you've still got all these players who are prospects who are leftovers, who you've got to figure out what you're doing with.
Yeah, essentially what Stan Bowman's saying is like that rebuild route since we haven't made the playoff or haven't been to the playoffs in 4 seasons, haven't won a playoff series in 4 seasons. Sorry, let me correct myself. Unless you want to count the bubble win against Edmonton.
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, I don't really count that, but yeah, I mean, essentially, I think Stan kind of took a step back and he's like, well, we really don't have like those elite level prospects that teams do when they rebuild.
So we might as well swing for it.
Yeah, might as well go for it. You got 2 more years on this contract with Kane.
Like Chicago's own CM Punk at the United Center on Friday.
Love that.
Back. I'm back.
I will say 2 things. One, I want to push back on. I agree, Jordan, with most of what you said. I want to push back on the Pugh Suter letting him walk.
Well, I get that was kind of because like cap reasons. I kind of get that.
It was cap reasons, and also letting him walk allowed I think it allowed Kurashev to have a spot because those 2 were sort of back and forth with that center position. I think that they looked at it and said, Khrushchev is going to be cheaper for longer. I think they're around the same. Like, we're going to be able to let Suter walk. And I will say, it's not like Bowman swung for the fences, sold off a bunch of young talent and brought back. Like, I still love Boquist. And I think we're going to regret it in the sense that he's going to take off. And I truly believe he's going to be an all-star. That said, he's the only young, high quality player that we got rid of in this offseason. And we added Seth Jones, McCabe, Marc-Andre Fleury. We got rid of a massive long-term injured reserve contract we would have to play with for years with Seabrook, and got Tyler Johnson, who is a very stable, good, like, he is a responsible, good player. He's not going to hurt our team. None of these are moves that I disagree with. The direction shocked me.
And like, that's the thing, like I'm not faulting Stan Bowman. If you've got the pieces and you think you've really got it in front of you, then go for it. Absolutely. As long as the pieces make sense.
And he didn't gut the team's future realistically.
No.
And like, I mean, I guess like once you say it like that, I do get, it's kind of hard to explain because like with the cap dollars, you've got cap dollars are an asset, players are an asset, prospects are an asset.
And we still have 2 years of Kane and Tays. And we realistically can't blow things up and really rebuild, tear it down to the studs, start again with Kane and Tays.
No,
so why not?
Because they both make 10.5 a piece, yep. Right? So you've got 21 million tied up right there. P.S. Suter, what did he make with us, David? It was like 4 point something,
4.
right?
I think it was 4 flat.
4.
Okay, so yeah, I guess you got, if after you factor in Keith leaving, if you take Keith's salary and you add what Suter got, it equals about what you paid Jones.
Yeah. And that said, I think I'd rather have Seth Jones than Keith and Suter.
Okay, fair enough.
Just because, I mean, if we're talking about Keith from 5 years ago, then it's a different story. But I think Suter, just because we have a lot of those guys that could play that third line center role, it was fitting to move on from him. But a lot, some of the things I'm disagreeing with between. Everybody's saying it's kind of like this year or bust for the Hawks. I don't necessarily see it like that either. Just because, we have Fleury, who is on a 1-year deal. Okay. We got 2 years left on Kane and Tays' contract. I think DeBrink is due for an extension after that too.
Yeah.
But Kane and Tays aren't going to make their 10.5 that they are currently getting paid. Tays might not even play. Who knows about Jonathan Tays? He might not play after his contract ends. But Kane maybe, but I could see him also taking a discount just because. I could
see him going for like 8.
Yeah, I could see him like, hey, I want to win. I want to win in Chicago. I'll take a discount for the team. But yeah, I don't think this window is necessarily just this 2 years. I think
no.
The salary cap might go up again once their contracts end. So I think this window is more open than it seems to be right now. But this is kind of like the start of maybe that short window we do have a chance.
Mm-hmm. I want to build on that, because I agree with you 100%. The Jones deal does not reflect the idea of a win. This is it. The next year, this is our window. That and the McCabe signing, because that was a 4-year contract for McCabe. That locks up 2 of our, theoretically, 2 key pieces of our blue line for at least the next 4 years, and then 4 more for Jones. And then we still have, we'll get to Brinkett on a new contract. We'll figure that out. He'll probably make around $9 million or something like that.
Doc's due for one.
Doc, I think Mitchell and Bodan will be very reasonable. I don't worry about that. For at least for the time being, I see them on bridge deals or something like that. Even guys like Gaudette, seeing what he can come with. I think we're positioning ourselves. I think we're trying to do as much of a rebuild as we can after evaluating, Nick, like you said, looking around going, our prospect pool is not we don't have these all-star talents waiting in the wings that are young and ready to come up, this might be the best version of a retool rebuild
on the fly.
the option that we have.
Yeah, it's just everything's on the fly. It's kind of like, oh, it's not looking like our future is like bright with our prospects. So we can still try to win and still develop these young guys and hope they turn out into something special.
Yeah, all it takes is just maybe one or two more of those guys to hit.
And just get our Europe scouts on the line. They'll find them.
I mean, right, exactly.
Now, one player, like, in my opinion, I know it's probably going to hurt Tim, but I don't see Dylan Strome being a long-term piece in Chicago.
It bums me out. Like, I understand.
All the moves are, all the signs are kind of pointing to it. Is like, he might not even last the season on the Hawks.
Now, Philip Kurashev, though, is a player that I think a lot of people are sleeping on.
I agree.
Was he flashy from what we've seen? Not really.
But
I'm talking about like he's not like a certified top 6 flashy guy.
I think he has.
Yeah. I agree.
But we haven't seen it consistently.
Yes, consistently, yes. But he has those flashes in the paint. I think he scored against you guys a dazzling goal.
He has phenomenal hands, phenomenal skills, really good vision. I think put with the right people and allowing his talents to, really activate. I see him as he could be a top 6 piece for us.
No. How long do you think it's like? Because I think he can be. I think he can be a top 6 player at some point. How long and how far out do you think that window is before he hits that status?
I think we see a breakout year from him this season. I'm talking like I don't know. I feel like he might get a chance to play with Kane this year for a full season.
I could see that.
And, depending on what they want to do with Doc, how his wrist is on faceoffs, or they maybe move him to wing for a season. I think they're going to get creative, but I could see him and Kane and then DeVrinket alongside that. Like, oh, man. I talked about you guys need to change your pants earlier, but now I might need to.
Nick, I'm on board with you. I think that Kurashev gets put in different positions this year. Again, he was a rookie last year, and he was asked to do ridiculous things that on a normal team in a normal year he wouldn't have been asked to do. I think seeing the flashes that he had, I don't think that the consistency is going to be a concern for me. I think he's going to really start to put it all together. I don't know. I think we're going to see it trending upward this year. And I think next year is going to be, he's ready, full-blown breakout. I see him doing very well this year and progressing. Next year, though, is going to be, that's what I think he's going to really hit the league by storm.
Yeah.
And then Lucas Reichel is, I think, another interesting piece for you guys. You guys drafted him, what was it, in late teens, right?
17.
Yeah, 17.
So speed has been something that has kind of been highlighted for him because we've seen a couple clips of him really hustling and just putting it on. It looks like rockets on his shoes. I think that the Hawks would do well to develop him into a player who can play a very mean board style game. Because, I mean, I'm looking at the Hawks prospect system. I'm looking at the players who you guys have. I don't really see a guy who I'm going to talk about him. Like you guys don't have like a Bertuzzi or Andrew Shaw style player in your system. I don't, or at least not that I'm seeing.
Not in the prospect system. No.
Yeah, not in the prospect system.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that maybe him in the AHL is what they try to instill in him?
I don't know, because I feel like, I mean, it is good to, they want that tough and grittiness, but I think you could work on that with a more fitting player. I think what the Hawks liked about him, and kind of what I think we talked about it before. I forgot where I heard this before, but Lucas Reichel has that quickness, that speed, and his ability to do everything at the top speed is, again, temper my expect. I'm not comparing him to this player, but what he does, like this, Connor McDavid does everything at top speed. I'm not saying he's the next Connor McDavid. Like, no.
The player he reminds me of, he seems very Brandon Saad-esque to me. And I'm talking like first time around with us, Brandon Saad. He's got a low center of gravity, really hard to knock off the puck, really good balance. He's got that speed coupled with that balance. I've said before, I think his ceiling is third best player on the first line. I think that he's not necessarily a line driver, but he is that final piece on the line. I think he'd be phenomenal on a second line at his peak and that number 3 person on the first line because of that low center of gravity. I mean, you can have that speed, but he can get hit and check back. Like he's still putting on weight. He's got strength. He's adding strength to him. His hands are good. His vision is good. That speed is good, but it is that balance and that lower strength. I think that's going to be that difference and makes me feel like, okay, we're going to get another Brandon Saad-esque player.
Are there any other prospects that you guys want to talk about before we move on to the rest of the league?
I mean, we touched on Vlasic, we touched on Drew Camuso.
Jacob Galvez was one that I think Scott Power said people are sleeping on.
Yeah.
I think he liked Galvez a lot.
Yeah. Jacob Galvez is one. We got a couple other college. Wyatt Kaiser we've touched on.
We've got a Russian too in the
Maxim Chalinov, who they
not Shalinov.
Yeah.
Alti.
The goalie?
No,
I don't even
Arthur.
Oh, the long, yeah, he has a long last name. Yeah, we're not even gonna try to.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't. I was really hoping that you had it.
I mean, I could show you the name. I can't say.
Yeah,
that.
I'm not even gonna try. But like, there's nobody that I'm like jumping up and down for. Isaac Phillips.
Yeah, he was our first signing from the 2020 class, right?
Super stoked for him. We talked about when they signed him. That's not somebody I see this year or next year, but I see him making the jump to the show. That said, we don't have right now. I don't think we have a lot of prospects that are just waiting in the wings that they're going to be the next big wave. I think we've got a lot of good complementary pieces, but we need to get some core pieces to make them work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just want to jump in real quick and give a shout out to this very excited fan on our Facebook Live, Anthony Williams. You know, he needs a cot and a hockey puck when he comes over. So whoever knows him, get him a cot and a hockey puck.
That's my guy. That's my guy. He's $20.
Just all caps. He's yelling.
He's very excited. He loves hockey. Big fan of the cast.
Hello.
Before we move outside of the Hawks, there is one piece of news that we're going to touch on just really quick. It kind of has to do with the Hawks, but not directly.
Yes.
The passing of Jimmy Hayes. Kid was 31 years old when he passed, so not an old player by any means. He's been around the NHL. I think 4 clubs he's been on.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah.
I know Boston.
He's been with Chicago. He's been with Boston.
Florida,
the New Jersey Devils, and then I can't remember the other one.
Florida Panthers.
There you go.
But what is it? Colby Cave was the other young player who died. What was it, 2 years ago? Or was it last year?
Last season was Colby Cave.
And I mean, as always, it sucks to see a young player's career cut short, especially as young as he was, 31 years old. He had, I believe, his wife and 2 kids that he left behind. Mm-hmm. Obviously, nobody wants to see a young, even not even just a player, like a young person's life cut short that young with that much life left to live.
Especially when they have a family behind.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. That's this one was gut wrenching. Like we talked last week that we've had some, Hawks family losses, Tony Esposito, Troy Murray's going through cancer. This one is out of the blue. He was posting last night. And
his kid's birthday.
Yeah. This is gut wrenching. I don't have a lot to say because it's really more of a shock even than anything. Nick, you posted about it in the chat this morning. And like the first thought in my mind was, wait, Jimmy Hayes is my age. Like I remember wait a minute, his career is in line with me. Like, wait, what is going on here?
Yep.
My heart goes out to the entire Hayes family. Kevin Hayes, I'm sure that's heartbreak. It's his brother. I don't know. This one's bad. This one is really, really hard.
And like, yeah, they said, what was it, that there's no suspect of.
Yeah, they don't think it's not a suspicious death.
Yeah. So for the people that are out there coming up with stupid conspiracy ideas, shut up.
Yeah.
Respect the family. Just
There's
shut
no
up.
business for that.
No.
Yeah, this is just a devastating loss for the hockey community in total. I mean, the outgoing support for the Hayes family and, seeing all the NHL Twitter accounts, all these players. I mean, Patrick Kane, before we recorded, said Jimmy Hayes was one of the best teammates he's ever had. And it was, they weren't even together for a long term. And just like, he had his own podcast called the Missing Curfew podcast, telling stories about his career.
Yeah.
Always on Spit and Chicklets with those guys over there, and just hearing the stories, and just like a genuine great guy, and seeing the impact he's made in the community. And it just sucks. I mean, it's terrible. I feel terrible for his family. His brother Kevin, obviously, the rest of his family, his wife, his 2 kids. But it's he. One thing we always say is like take life for granted, and that's what Jimmy Hayes did. Because so there was a couple tweets today that I just want to share, and
please
kind of not make light of a situation, but like kind of explain how he really took life to the fullest. I mean, he was a Boston boy. He's from Dorchester. And Dorchester said, this guy said Dorchester saw thousands of kids over 40 years go through their rink. Many played in college and D1, some in Europe, some in the AHL, and only 3 went to the NHL, 2 from one family, but only 1 played for the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
That was Jimmy Hayes. He got to play for his hometown team. And then one more was just, what you call it? It said that Jimmy Hayes grew up in Boston. He went to Boston College, won a national championship, played for the Boston Bruins. That's a goddamn superhero in the city of Boston. So, I mean, just one of those guys who he was just the light of the room. And, I think this kind of shows, hug your loved ones, because you don't know when this life that we live is kind of gone from us.
Yeah.
And always just take advantage of each day. Even the day sucks, just, pound through it, because be forever grateful for every day you wake up.
Yeah.
Tell
people you love them. I think to me, the big standout, seeing a bunch of the different tweets that have just been pouring out from former players, from reporters and whatnot, it's that Jimmy Hayes lit up every room that he was in. He's the kind of person, like, everyone's saying, oh my God, best teammate, electrifying, like the kind of guy you wanted to go up to after a game, win or lose. Tell the people in your life that you love them. Don't say I'll see him soon. Just trust it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hold them tight, because
you
never know when this is gone from us. So rest in peace, Jimmy Hayes, and thinking of the Hayes family in this horrific time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll transfer on to the rest of the league, because I feel like we've only got 2 other pieces of news to talk about, and these I think will be pretty quick ones.
Yeah.
The first piece of news, and this is going to affect the entire NHL, I'm pretty sure. So the NHL and a bunch of the owners have gotten together and basically said, hey, advertisements on jerseys are going to happen. I think it's like a 3x4 patch or something like that is all the size that they're going to be. It's not going to be like freaking NASCAR jerseys where there's 1,500 logos on it.
Or soccer, like,
I mean, yeah, like with soccer, most soccer teams have 2. Like, they have a chest big one, and some teams have a sleeve sponsor. And I'm not against it as long as it's not like flashy, gaudy, or it's not a stupid company. Like Everton for a couple years had a African betting company as our main shirt sponsor called Sport Pesa. And I hate that. Like, I don't want a betting company as a shirt sponsor. Like, that same seasons we got a sleeve sponsor from Angry Birds. Yes, Angry Birds.
I mean, that's kind of fun.
They actually did more for our club than Sport Pesa did. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm fine with Angry Bird. But like, if we get like, what was it? University Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Was that what our helmet sponsor was this past year? UMW.
Mm-hmm.
If they put that on the sleeve, I'm fine with that. If we get like Ford on the sleeve, cool, whatever. Like, I don't think it's gonna go what you're thinking, Jordan, or your fear is with NASCAR flashing lights, things like that. Hockey is a very conservative sport when it comes to like jerseys. So I think it's going to be that patch, and that's pretty much it. Well, hockey in the United States.
Well, and that's realistically, they need revenue. They need to generate from they are the number one sport out of the big sports in the States that rely on ticket sales and people in the door, and they didn't have that for a year.
Mm-hmm.
They need revenue, and frankly, I was not bothered at all by the helmets. I'm totally fine with the helmets.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, no, I have no issue with that. And frankly, if it's a patch on the shoulder, my big knock is like, I'm a Manchester United fan. I've got but I've got the giant like A on the front. And it's sort of like, wait, is that the team?
Chevrolet symbol.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want that. I don't want to be confused by who the jersey is. But if it's a patch on the shoulder and they generate a ridiculous, revenue from it, it was going to happen sooner or later anyway. The pandemic just escalated it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be one small patch, guys. I don't think we're not going to see what goes on in Germany or what goes on in the other leagues. Like Gary Bettman originally said, like he was years ago, he was like against this idea.
I think he's still against it.
But
it's
you
just
need the money.
Yeah.
I mean, just for financial sakes, and the NBA has that one little patch on their jersey. That was $5 million in revenue per team as is.
Great.
Just last season, I just looked up. I just seen a tweet from it. I want to see what the financial compensation was. But I mean, to have a little fun with it, guys. Who's going to be who would be a nice sponsor for us on our team?
Portillo's? Listen, I would
Little Caesars,
Lou Malnati's, like
Pequods.
You slap that whale on there for the Pequods, I would be the happiest person on the planet.
Vito and Nick's.
Kroger.
I love, for us, it's all food places.
It'd be awesome if the Wings got Red Wing boots as their sponsor.
I gotta just blend in.
Yeah.
I mean, they could get creative with it. Like, Vito and Nick's, put them on the.
I mean,
put them on the Blackhawks sweater.
I personally would, rainbow cone. I would be happy as long as it. I mean, I get it. There's going to be lots of opportunities. My hope is that it's something Chicago local, or like at least roots in Chicago, not just like Fifth Third Bank, whatever it is. Fifth Third Bank might actually be I talking out of my, but something that's synonymous with Chicago would be really, really cool to me. Yeah. I think that would take away the sting of it too.
The Illich family might do something local too, I think.
That'd be cool.
I mean, because Hawks had United on their helmets last year, and like again, that doesn't really affect. It didn't affect my viewership at all. Like I wasn't like, oh, this ad is ruining the fucking game.
I can't tell who that is because all I see is that ad.
That said, I just want to point out, if it's Benny's Beverage Depot, I am gonna laugh.
Yeah, I mean, as if the 20 holograms on the goddamn glass throughout the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, come on, we could deal with ads. We kind of just tune them out at this point.
But you're right, Jordan. I don't want it to get to patch.
I don't think it will.
No, that'd be eyesores for me.
Yeah.
The other piece of league news, and I'm not even bringing this up to trash on Buffalo this week. This is like
it just happens to happen.
It just happens. God,
Owen Power is going to be the first player drafted first overall in 15 years to not go directly to the NHL. I know people are like, well, he just wants to go back to school and he wants to get his education. As much, I'm sure he probably does. Making $975,000 a year sounds awful nice playing in the NHL.
But it's not with Seattle as the marquee player of the team. It's with Buffalo, as in the dumpster fire of the NHL.
As in break your neck and we'll super glue it back together.
Like let's be real. he just got drafted by Buffalo. He just saw what Buffalo did. They traded away so many of their key pieces, Rastalainen and all of these people. And you see what's happened to Rasmus Dahlin. He's not the next Nick Lidstrom that he's supposed to be yet. If he ever will get there. I think he might get near it, but he's not going to be Nick Lidstrom. But not with Buffalo either. Hell yeah, I'm going back to Michigan.
Here's
one of
the
the
thing.
best college hockey programs.
Well, and that's exactly it, David. Like, Michigan is going to be stacked this year. I think there's a couple things. One, it's no secret that I look at Buffalo with sadness and disdain, and my heart goes out to every single fan of that wonderful hockey town that has to deal with that team. That said, yes, he's the first overall pick in like 15 years to not go to the NHL immediately, but he probably shouldn't have been. I think that there's a couple of people throughout the years that would have benefited from not jumping right into the league. I think Owen Power could jump right into the league talent-wise. There's no doubt. I think him going back to this Michigan team, and I think there's a couple things. It's Buffalo, so there's no real incentive. They did just sell everything off. Middlestad's gone. Reinhardt's gone. Ristolainen's gone. Who knows where Jack Eichel's going to be realistically. But if he was going to some college that didn't have as good of a program as Michigan, and B, Michigan is ridiculously stacked this year. They're
4 out of the first 5 draft picks are going to Michigan.
There's no way. I mean, you've got those two things going against you. He's going to thrive in that setting this year. I think he's going to come out of this year an infinitely better player than if he went to the NHL this year, Buffalo aside. But certainly with Buffalo,
that's a big factor.
It's a huge. I mean, it has to
stick around and go to grad school because Michigan, there's some good grad school programs. I'm gonna get my master's degree. Oh, you know what? I really want to get my doctorate too. So I'm just gonna.
I always wanted to play beer league for a year too, guys.
I think realistically for Owen Power and Owen Power's future, this is the smartest move he could make for checking every single box along the way for him.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is a national championship team that Owen Power is going to. This team would beat the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, I had to listen to a series of people all throughout college telling me that the Iowa Hawkeyes could beat the Chicago Bears. But this is actually a situation where, looking at Buffalo, Michigan might actually beat the Buffalo Sabres.
You got the first overall pick, Owen Powers. All right, nice to have on your Division I college hockey team. Throw in the second overall pick with Matty Beniers. There's your center. You know what? Here's your second line center, Kent Johnson, who went 5th overall. And you know what? Why not add another talented Hughes brother to the program? Incoming freshman Luke Hughes, drafted 4th overall. So that is just like they took over the whole draft.
Yeah.
And then Michigan hockey took over the lottery of this draft. So this is a national championship team. I think this is going to be benefit. This is also going to benefit because he's going to be in a winning program, not playing with kids. He's going to be playing with college athletes, people that he's going to
know what it feels like to win a game.
Yeah, it's his future counterparts. And I mean, it's a win-win for Buffalo too. You hold another year in his ELC, or he doesn't burn a year of his ELC. Well, it doesn't really matter. And you don't have a guy that's actually really good, kind of get in the way of your Shane Wright hunt. So.
Yeah, man, if the Buffalo Sabres land Shane Wright next year, I'm going to be so furious.
They will. There's going to be no one near. I think all the contracts they signed this offseason were like league minimum $750K.
Buffalo made like a bad demon deal where they said, we want to get all these like top picks, and they go, okay, you never said you were going to do anything with them.
I'm in Edmonton, man. Jesus Christ. At least Edmonton makes the playoffs. Sometimes.
And at least they have a couple pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I thought that was something kind of interesting to talk about. Like all jokes about Buffalo aside, it's not often we see first overall picks not immediately jump to the NHL.
It's a perfect storm. I think it's not just one decision. It's all the different factors aligned that this is the objectively smart decision.
So Sabres fans, just watch Michigan hockey this year.
Yeah.
Save yourself the pain and agony for a season. Just watch Michigan. Treat them as your number one hockey team until Buffalo, maybe
So
one
Buffalo
day.
sells.
Yeah, until they maybe figure their shit out or kind of just get kicked out of the NHL.
I mean, shoot, they even wear the same colors, blue and yellow. So
Yeah,
it's
there you
kind
go.
of like you're watching your club.
Buffalo becomes like they get moved like the Hartford Whalers.
Buffalo demoted to the NCAA.
And that's okay because then the Coyotes didn't get their lease re-signed.
Yeah. Shit, I forgot about that.
So they're gonna go to Buffalo. They'll be the Buffalo Coyotes. What do I care? Have a new
It'll
team.
be like the Baltimore Colts.
That's big news too. Where's Arizona going?
Are we seeing a Quebec City? There's no. I don't feel like realistically that's gonna happen.
I would hope them or Hartford bring one of those jerseys back.
Kansas City
have an
be
NHL team. Wisconsin. Why did Wisconsin have an NHL team? The Green Bay somethings.
It's actually a really good question. Why doesn't Wisconsin have a team?
The Milwaukee
Milwaukee.
somethings. Yeah. Milwaukee'd be a fantastic hockey city, I feel.
They have every other pro sport. Their NBA team just won the NBA championship.
And they're a
Aaron
hockey
Rodgers
state.
Indiana doesn't have a team either, do they?
Yeah, but
fuck Indiana.
Yeah.
Indiana kind of sucks. It's not Ohio, but it's Indiana.
And they've got a team.
But literally every time I turn on like college hockey, 5 times out of 10 it's a Wisconsin game. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Wisconsin versus somebody.
I think that certainly relocation watch is going to be on for the rest of the year with Arizona.
When's the last time we had a relocation? Was that the Winnipeg Jets?
Winnipeg from
Yeah.
Atlanta to Winnipeg. Yeah, I think realistically, I don't even see them going back in Arizona. Like they're that especially the moves they made.
Every time
the
Wings played Arizona, it was like Joe Louis 2. Like there was more cheers for the Wings than there were for.
That's most of the teams that like Hawks games. You would just see a sea of the Hawks jerseys. I mean, between going from Phoenix to Glendale, I mean, and nobody just like the moves that the organization has made the last couple of years, I think it might be time to move that, which is a shame because I love, no, I don't. I'm not even, no, I don't. I don't care about the Arizona Coyotes. I want to for some reason, but no, get them out of there. Get them someplace where they can be supported and sustainable.
Milwaukee. Milwaukee.
It would make sense with the divisions. Maybe if the NHL has any influence on because they already relocated to the Central Division this year.
Yeah,
so maybe they want them in the Central Division to stay. I mean, we won't. At least the Hawks could for sure not say that they're going to take last in this division this year. But no, I
literally started to Google why isn't there I got why isn't there an NHL team in Wisconsin? Why doesn't Wisconsin have an NHL team? Why does Wisconsin?
It's your fault listening to you.
Yeah, that's the they're always
great.
listening.
That's our tracking device.
That's our Zuckerberg.
That's our tracking device. But yeah, I mean, they kind of went through a rebrand in their own with their team this offseason. Like they got rid of really every major contributor to their team. They're starting this whole rebuilding process, so you might as well just start it somewhere else.
The whole thing, yeah.
You overstayed your welcome in Arizona, and they want you the fuck out of there.
That does make me sad because I think of Shane Doan, and like he gave everything to Arizona, and I don't know. I feel like Arizona should have worked. It's a cool, like they've made a lot of other sports work. It just bums me out that they couldn't put it all, that there was a lot of management issues, that there was a lot of, it's the same issues that we've seen in Buffalo. It's the same issues that we've seen in Edmonton, except in those cases, those are hockey crazed cities that even if the team and ownership screw everything up, there's enough people that still say, well, I love hockey, even if it's bad. Arizona doesn't have that luxury. So you've got people that have just squandered this team and the fan base isn't there. You need a team to be good or at least a successfully run organization to make hockey in the desert work.
And that's just clearly not how it went. I mean, shit, they had to forfeit a draft pick this year because they broke rules.
Exactly. It's not like those were secret rules.
It's like, hey, don't train these guys before you're allowed to. Like, all right, we won't. Did you just wink at us? We can.
Are you winking? Yeah, that's my 2 cents on the
mean,
whole matter.
burn the franchise to the ground, relocate them somewhere else, get out of Gilley
Milwaukee.
Arena.
I'm telling you, send them to
I'm with you.
Wisconsin.
I think
That'll be a
Milwaukee would be
great
great.
market. They'll be rivals with the Wild. They'll be rivals with the Wings. They'll be rivals with Chicago.
Easy for
Boom.
Nick, easy for us to go up and get tickets to a game and just drive on up there.
I mean, I'm all board for it.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Some surprise news.
Forgot about that one. Yeah.
So I did forget about that. See, the Arizona Coyotes they're irrelevant. We forgot about that news.
They're that forgettable.
Yeah. Buffalo's like that horrible beacon of fire that you just can't look away from. And the Coyotes are just sort of smoldering.
At least our old.
They're calling Gondor. They're torches for Gondor.
Our old torture team, the Senators, kind of figured their shit out. So we're on to Buffalo and Arizona, boys.
Yep.
I think this is a good note to end the podcast with, and on a laugh while we laugh with other people.
Yeah, we needed a laugh after
Arizona's always good for that.
Suck.
We needed to end on a laugh after the tough news around the league today. So it's yeah.
Well, for anyone who's still watching or listening to this podcast, we appreciate it. If you liked what you heard or you watched, there are ample ways to get in touch with us. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on SoundCloud. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. You can email us for that matter. Whatever your podcast method of choice is, we're on it probably. So feel free to give us a like, a follow, a share, whatever the social media currency of choice is on the platform that you like, because we're probably on it. We haven't gone on the TikTok yet, but you know what? Who knows? Maybe we'll find some fun stuff to put on there.
Tim is hot and modest.
That's Top Fan Tony. Very, very kind as always.
Fan Tony.
But no, there are ample ways to get in touch with the podcast. So feel free to reach out to us. At the end of the day, this is a podcast. It's by fans and for fans. There's no sort of corporate sponsorship yet. There's nobody who can tell us, hey, we can't say this, we can't say that. It's just all sorts of fan opinions. And the thing is, this is a rivalry podcast at the end of the day. It's a good dose of reality, but also uplifting when it's possible. So it's something where you're getting realistic takes, but also when people start floating up into the clouds, somebody quickly grabs their foot and says, and come back down here.
I get smacked down pretty quick.
Like you said, it is a rivalry podcast, but just because our teams are rivals doesn't mean we have to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is meant to be fun. It's enjoyable. We enjoy doing this podcast with each other, and we hope that you guys enjoy it as well. So feel free to give us whatever the social media currency is of choice that you enjoy this podcast on, because at the end of the day, that helps us spread to new people. And if you get in touch with us, it's a way that we can interact with you all. So feel free to do that. But again, that's going to be our show for tonight. And for your host, Jordan Linscott, and for my co-hosts, Tim Stompanato, David Barnhouse, and Nick LePage, this has been another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. You all take care of each other. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. In the meantime, let's just get ready for preseason hockey because it's getting back, boys.
Right on.
Wheel and deal on Snipe Cities, boys.